I gave my word to one of my friends that I would make a video response to this video.
I don't want to say it's a man versus woman thing, but a lot of women do complain, oh, my husband's always on me. Why is he always on me? If sex is going to be a chore for you that you don't really want to do, why do women constantly push monogamy on men? If you know that you don't want to have to deal with him all the time just wanting you, why do you push monogamy on him?
Why do men get pressured to get married, yet when married, they're denied sex? That's a great question. Many arguments occur over the lack of sex in marriage, and sometimes, unfortunately, the lack of sex in marriage leads to a husband cheating. Let's talk about it. Now, I know that regardless of what I say in this video, how I say it, what facts I use, or what examples I use, there are going to be some women who don't want to hear it. Why? Well, sometimes it's because those types of women are stubborn, they're prideful, they're selfish, they're manipulative, petty, aka broken. Those types of women just rather blame the man. It's the man's fault, instead of being held accountable for their flaws and accountable for their actions or lack of actions. It's easier for these types of women to think that they are perfect queens with no flaws at all. I'm perfectly imperfect. Can you imagine a man using that line to excuse their sins, to excuse their flaws? Hey baby, yo, I know I got your sister pregnant and everything, but I'm perfectly imperfect, baby. Look, I know I punched you in your mouth repeatedly, but I'm perfectly imperfect. You know what I'm saying? My love, like, you know what I'm saying? I love you. When I curse at you and call you out your name, love me for me, because, you know, I'm perfectly imperfect. You know what I'm saying? To be perfectly clear, there's nothing perfect about our imperfections. Saying you're perfectly imperfect as a way of excusing your sin and justifying your wrongs is ridiculous. It's wrong. For those types of women, this video isn't for you. Now, it's a great thing that not all women are like these types of women. Not all women are like these type of women. Many women are caring, selfless, nurturing, kind-hearted, forgiving, and really want to be great wives and really want to understand sex from their husband's perspective. If you're that type of woman, then this video is for you. And if you're that type of man that's always wanted to communicate to your wife why sex is important and how it makes you feel when there's not a frequency of sex, then this video is also for you. Why do men get pressured to get married, yet when they are married, they are denied sex? Now, what do women think he means by the word pressured? What do men mean by the word pressured? Well, when we look up the word pressure on Merriam-Webster.com, the first definition that comes up is the burden of physical or mental distress. Now, maybe your girlfriend and, you know, hopefully your wife-to-be doesn't put physical distress on you. You better marry me now, this minute. But can't we honestly say, and all honestly say, that there's some mental distress that some women put on men to get married? All of a sudden, a boyfriend may start seeing like wedding movies and shows and engagement videos. Baby, so my friend from middle school, right? She get married. I know I haven't spoken to her in like 15 years, but she's still my friend. And I want to go, you want to go with me? And the boyfriend be like, hey, there's no problem. I'll go with you to the wedding. You know what I'm saying? You my girl. You want me there. I'm going to go to the wedding. But inside, he's really like, the show is hot in here, boy. You ain't hot, babe? Man, it's getting hot. Hot, yeah. There's often a subtle, indirect, and often manipulative pressure placed on a man to marry a woman. There is. Let's be really real about it. Now, of course, I'm not saying that a man shouldn't want to marry a woman that he loves. A man should want to marry a woman that he loves. Marriage is awesome. Marriage isn't perfect. People aren't perfect. People in marriage won't be perfect. But imperfect people seeking to perfect themselves in marriage for each other daily and consistently makes marriage awesome. So why do men get pressured to get married, yet when married, they're denied sex? Now, do I think that the man in this video is saying that men should always get sex from his wife whenever he wants it? I don't think so. In fact, I really don't think that a man that truly seeks to love his wife like Jesus loved the church should expect something like that. That's not a loving, understanding, nurturing husband. A husband should never always expect sex from his wife without caring about what may be going on with her that day. If he does expect sex regardless of what's going on with her, I don't think he's living up to the standard of, Jesus loving the church, in my opinion. But what does that man mean then by him being denied sex? Are we saying he's denied sex all the time? I don't think so. I think he's saying that he's either denied sex directly, often, or denied the opportunity for a sexual atmosphere in his marriage enough that he feels like it's all the time. For many men, ladies, here's why marriage isn't fully appealing at all to them. With or without marriage, women generally get what they prioritize in a relationship outside of sex anyway. They get affection, they get a partner, they get a protector, they get conversations, they get a man's presence, a man's security, etc., etc. Now, I'm not saying men don't value these things or don't care about these things or that men don't get anything in return from these things. I'm not saying that men don't get anything in return from a non-sexual relationship. But generally speaking, men have higher sex drives than women. With that being said, sex is usually more of a priority in a relationship for men than women. Psychologically speaking, women generally are more in sync with their emotions, right? I mean, that's fair to say, right? A man that protects a woman's emotions, shares his emotions with her, values her emotions, and is positively influencing her emotions would cause any woman to fall deeply, deeply in love. I mean, that's how God designed her. That is not to say that women don't love sex or care about sex. I'm just saying that I don't believe that a woman was designed in the same way men are designed. You know what I find interesting? No wife in the Bible was called to agape love her husband. Agape is a Greek word that takes the meaning of loving selflessly, like Jesus dying for the sins of the world is agape love. A mother naturally caring for her children is selfless agape love. Wives aren't commanded to love their husbands like that in the Bible. Why? I think it's because that God knows that women are designed that way anyway. Women are naturally that way. Men are designed differently. That's why the command was given to men, because that doesn't come natural for them. What comes natural to them is more of the physical side. With women, there's estrogen. With men, there's testosterone. We're different. Here's another thing that women just don't understand about men. Women tend to think that all sex is to men is just a release. Now, to be fair, that's probably true for many types of men. But to also be fair, it's not fair to say that of all men. Sex to some men is just another way of physically expressing their emotions to their wives. Scientifically, studies now show that if a man doesn't ejaculate a certain amount of times a month, his chances of developing cancer increase. Not to mention, when a man doesn't ejaculate enough, that buildup of semen can be painful to his testicles. Many doctors have compared it to when women who just had a baby has that buildup of milk in the breasts. If that mother who just had a baby doesn't release that milk, their breasts get swollen and sore. That's similar to a man who doesn't ejaculate for long periods of time, or at least consistently. Men were designed to be more physical beings. Now, when a man truly loves a woman, he wants to express his physical being to the woman he loves. That doesn't mean he doesn't want to express other sides, but since he was designed in that way, that's one of the most primary ways that he expresses his love. When wives deny their husbands of sex, it makes them feel undesired, it makes them feel unloved, unvalued, and the list goes on and on. Wives need to understand the physical part of a man in the same way all wives want husbands to understand the non-physical side of the woman, aka their emotions. Men, to be fair to the ladies, I understand why they often confuse you with other types of men. There are many, many men that just want sex to have sex. There are many, many who just have sex with anyone because there's an opportunity for sex. There are many, many men that just have sex and it doesn't mean anything beyond a release. And sometimes Unfortunately, they confuse you wanting sex as those type of men. But ladies, I'm not talking about those type of men. I'm talking about the groups of men that love one woman, want to be with that one woman, flaws and all, yet are denied something that they can only get from their wife if they are to be in a marriage that God intended to be monogamous. What generally eventually happens when a husband goes long periods of time without sex, especially if that husband has been patient, understanding, romantic, communicated honestly with his wife. Eventually, what sometimes happens is the husband stops being affectionate and caring because he feels unheard, uncared for, or even manipulated when it comes to sex. Sometimes out of spite, he'll withdraw his affection and his presence. Or B, he ends up cheating. Now, maybe he doesn't directly search for someone to satisfy that physical side, but he starts being open to the idea of going outside his marriage. No, that does not make it right. I'm not saying a husband stepping outside his marriage is right in any way, shape, or form. I'm just listing an effect of the lack of sex in marriage. Now, what usually happens is instead of wives understanding their part in their husband's cheating, you hear them say something like, cheating is a choice. They choose to cheat. Okay, fair enough. Let's talk about that. Everything is a choice. What does that mean though? Like, what does that explain? Does that explain why some husbands cheat and some husbands don't? I don't think so. Do you know something else that's also a choice? Lying. Lying is a choice. You choose to lie. Agreed, right? You choose to lie or you choose not to lie, but that doesn't explain why some people lie more than others. That doesn't explain why you probably lied today, yesterday, or why you'll lie tomorrow. Lying is wrong. Absolutely. There is no context in which lying is right in a Christian worldview. Jesus teaches that in Proverbs 12:22, lying lips are an abomination to the Lord, but those who act faithfully are his delight. End quote. But by saying lying is a choice, you choose to lie, does that explain why people lie? I mean, some people lie to spare someone's feelings. Some people lie simply because they want to manipulate and hurt others. Ever heard of a narcissist? Yes, lying is wrong and lying is a choice. You either choose to lie or choose to tell the truth. But do we treat people that lie all the same way? Like, for example, would you treat a friend that lied to you to spare your feelings the same way you would treat someone who lied to you to hurt you and to use you? Saying something is a choice simply makes a claim that there are options to do or not do something. God gave us that ability, it's called free will, to either obey him or to sin. Yet simply saying that someone has free will or someone has a choice doesn't really solve anything. You have the option to do or not do. What does that explain? And that definitely doesn't help us diagnose the problem of cheating husbands in marriage so that we can possibly find a solution. When a husband cheats in marriage, it is a problem. That's the problem we're focusing on for this video. That's not to say that women don't cheat. I'll do another video on that, but we're focusing on the problem of husbands cheating. When you go to the doctor because something is painful, right? What do they try to do? Well, they try to understand why the problem is happening. Finding a solution to a problem often happens when you find out why something is happening. Like if my car has a flat tire and I take that same tire to a place to have that tire patched, then I put that same tire back on the car and then I drive away and then that same tire gets a flat again. So I take it back to the place and they say, oh, there's a nail. So that's what's causing the problem. The nail was causing the problem of the tire getting flat. The solution then would be removing the nail, then patching it, and everything should be fine unless there's another problem. Cheating is wrong in marriage. Adultery is wrong, period. But we need to find out why it's happening. Sometimes it is the husband's fault by himself. Completely his fault, no excuses, no and, ifs, and buts. I grew up watching many good women who were faithful, respectful, affectionate, sexual, all that stuff, and the husband was just a player. He was a dog. The woman knew who he was before they got married. She just thought that she was special and she could change him because that's the game that those type of men play. Hey, baby, you know what I'm saying? You're so special, you know what I'm saying? Just like, you make me want to change my life. Like, you know, you make me want to be something different and just, you know what I'm saying, settle down with you. Yeah, I know those types of men. Sometimes it is that man's fault. Sometimes, though, women play a part in his blame. women play a part in his cheating. Now, how? How am I playing a part in him deciding to cheat? Well, let's talk about that. Just to be clear, cheating is wrong in marriage. Adultery is wrong, period. There's no justification, meaning there is nothing that anyone could say, I could say, anyone could say to make cheating right. I'm not saying that it's right that he cheated. I'm saying you played a part in him cheating. Sometimes wives fail in their responsibilities in the sex department. Oh my God. Oh my God. He said responsibility. That sounds so unromantic. That sounds so commanding and obligating. Have you ever realized that every type of relationship involves at least one form of responsibility by two people in a relationship? For example, a relationship between parents and children involves children being responsible for respecting their parents and parents being responsible for leading their children in the way that they should go. A relationship between an employer and an employee involves an employee being responsible for doing their job right and the employer being responsible in paying the employee accurately and on time. A relationship between friends involves two people being responsible for trust, respect, and a whole list of things that makes that friendship work. A relationship between a student and a teacher involves the teacher being responsible for teaching clearly and effectively, and the student being responsible for learning and asking questions and applying what they have learned by doing their homework. Every kind of relationship that I can think of, by relationship, I mean interaction with another human being, involves some form of responsibility. Marriage is the ultimate relationship. So why then do people think that marriage doesn't require responsibilities? Jesus talks about this. Jesus teaches in 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 5, that stop depriving one another except for the agreement for a time so that you may devote yourself to prayer and come together again so that Satan will not tempt you because of your lack of self-control. Stop depriving each other of sex. Who is this verse talking to? Married people. This verse is talking to married people. What is being said is that you need to stop denying each other of sex except if you two agree. Why do you need to stop denying each other of sex? Because Satan will use that as an opportunity to tempt you because of your lack of self-control. Now, some women will hear those words self-control and they'll say, well, see, men, y'all have no control when it comes to sex. Okay. All right. So that means that you didn't have sex until you got married. Besides, the self-control that's in that verse isn't talking about a self-control in the sense of like you just finished eating dinner and you know you really want dessert, but you know I have self-control, so you know, and I'm on a diet, so I'm gonna eat dinner and that's enough. I'm not gonna get that dessert. It's not talking about that. It's talking about the self-control in the sense of our sinful nature. Like, for example, we often do bad things purposely. We know they're bad things, yet hypocritically we get mad when those same bad things that we did are now done to us. That type of self-control. If you have so much self-control, never ever do something that you know is bad again. Let me know how that goes. Look, Jesus seeks to solve the problem of adultery in marriage this way. Whether adultery is committed by the husband or wife, this is how Jesus seeks to solve that. 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 4. The wife does not have authority over her own body, but the husband does. And likewise, the husband does not have authority over his own body, but the wife does. In other words, when you're married, it's not about you. It's about you too. In other words, it's never about just your view when it comes to any topic. Specifically right now, we're talking about the sexual topic. If you're primarily focused on getting your way, for example, a woman with a lower sex drive would primarily be focused on not having that much sex. If you're primarily focused on getting your own way, then you're being selfish and you're making it about you instead of the you too that God designed for marriage to be. It's a union. When you get married, two people become one flesh. If you are primarily focused on getting your way, you need to recheck yourself. Now, men, there are many things that you need to continually do to love her in a way that creates that type of desire in her. I'm not saying that a man could just do whatever he wants and treat the women however he wants and he should still get sex. No, the Bible talks about a man should love his wife as Jesus loved the church. A lot of men think sex starts in the bedroom. Nah, it's an all-day event. It's in the ways you treat her. It's in the way you're considerate of her. It's in the way that you listen to her. It's in the way that you touch her. It's in the way that you help around the house. Now, women, I know many men, including me, at many times throughout my marriage have failed to love our wives in that way to promote that sexual feeling. I'm not saying that there's an excuse for that. But what I'm focusing on in this video is not those type of men who don't seek to be that type of husband. These men that I'm focused on in video are that type of husband, and they have wives that just don't make sex a priority in their marriage. And this is the reason that leads many men to not want to get married, because of the lack of sex that generally sometimes happens because of a woman not making sex a priority, regardless of how good the husband is in that marriage. That's what I'm talking about in this video. That's the context. Now, if there's nothing else, ladies, that you take from this video, if there is nothing else that you agree with from this video, please listen to the following perspective and try to search your mind and heart to understand how men who really want to be faithful and be with one woman and have sex with their one woman, their wife, right? How men tend to see the lack of sex in marriage. Just check this out honestly, fairly, and just give it some thought. A woman stressed from work often means no sex. Could a husband get his wife in the mood? Yeah, he could. A good husband would go through the process of relaxing his wife, hearing about her day, romancing her, etc., then initiating sex. But here's how wives sometimes react. If a wife sees that her husband wants sex, she may feel like he's being inconsiderate to the day she had. That happens. Or she may feel like he's just doing those things just because he wants sex. So now those things he's doing to relax her isn't as appreciated. Or she may have sex with him that time, but that doesn't mean that if he does that every time, it's going to lead to sex. Sometimes he'll do all that and she'll still say no to sex. Not want sex, not desire sex, and get mad that he expected to have sex after doing all that. That happened. A woman stressed from family, no sex. Now, could her husband get his wife in the mood? Yes, yada, yada. No sex. Wife stressed from friends, no sex. Wife sick, no sex. I'm not saying that a husband shouldn't be considerate of the fact that his wife is sick. I'm just naming occasions in marriage where there is no sex. Wife's time of the month, no sex, at least for many. Wife stressed from friends, no sex. Wife stressed from bills, no sex. Wife pregnant, sickness and all that stuff, no sex. Wife just gave birth, no sex. Wife focused on the baby after birth and neglects the husband now, no sex. Wife focused on her business, no sex. Wife focused on her education, getting her degrees, no sex. Wife focused on her career. That's great, baby. No sex. Wife focus on what she could be getting from her husband that she's not getting. No sex. Wife focus on what she shouldn't be getting from her husband that she is getting. No sex. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. No sex. Husband isn't perfect. No sex. Husband trying too hard to be perfect. No sex. Fill in the blank. No sex. Now, wives, look, my point isn't that wives should be having sex with their husbands all the time, regardless of these situations. My point, men's point, husband's point is that wives often let other things take priority over their sexual responsibility to their husband. Many women are blind to how they are like this. Many women will watch this video and say, well, I ain't like that, right, babe? Yeah, you're not like that. But here's a questionnaire that I developed for wives to really ask yourself honestly to see if you fall into the category of wives that don't make sex a priority. Now, Felice, there's some guys that get it off the time and still cheat. I'm not talking about those type of guys, right? Not every guy's a cheater. Women cheat too. Not every woman's a cheater. Talking about the guys that truly desire that one woman. They love the marriage. They love you. They'll die for you. They've proved themselves to you, and they still are not getting their sexual needs met. Satan uses that as an opportunity to be able to tempt them. A lot of women who cheat, a lot of wives who cheat will say, well, if he was loving me this way, or if he was paying attention to me, or if he was giving me attention, or if he was blah, 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 if he was doing any of those things, then I wouldn't have the desire for another man and I wouldn't be in another man's arm. Okay, that is true. So why is it so hard for you to believe that about a husband? That's what I don't understand. But here is the checklist for women to see if you're really like that type of woman who's failing in that responsibility. 1, how often do you have sex? 2, when you do have sex, do you ever approach sex in the way he would like or just how you would like? 3, do you think more about what he needs to do better sexually than how you need to do better sexually? 4, what's something new you have done for him sexually this year? Something you've probably never done for him before. 5, do you know what he defines a good sex life as, or do you just define it by your definition? 6, how often do you flirt with him versus waiting for him to flirt with you? 7, what do you let get in your way of consistently meeting his needs sexually, and how often does that thing get in your way? 8, what would he rate your sex life as from 1 to 10? 9, how often do you get in the mood sexually for him versus letting him to always be the one to get you in the mood? 10, how often do you randomly tell him sexual things for him to think about? 11, how often do you do that one sexual thing that you know he likes but you rarely do because you don't care for it much? 12, what separates birthdays for him sexually from any other day of the year? 13, are you consistently improving sexually for him, or do you leave it for him to be the one to improve for you? Hopefully this video has addressed a lot of the concerns that men have, and please support me and messages like this by liking, following, commenting, and sharing. God bless.